poor dog was abandoned on the lawn and remained there for 15 years. But one day, something incredible happened, and all the inhabitants of the city cried with emotion. Romeo was a very cute and energetic dog. He loved playing with his family and running through the garden. But one day, something very sad happened. Romeo's family had to move, and instead of taking him with them, they decided to leave him in a strange and garbage-filled place. The lawn was a terrifying and confusing place for Romeo. There was a lot of garbage everywhere, and smells that he had never experienced before. Romeo felt lonely and lost, unsure of what to do. He looked at the cars passing by on the road and waited to see his family return to look for him. But time passed, and nobody appeared. Every day was a new struggle for Romeo. He tried to find a small place to hide and protect himself from the other dogs that wandered around there. The days were hot, and the nights were cold, and Romeo needed to be very brave to stay safe. He spent his time looking for food among the waste, learning to find something to eat and trying not to get hurt. The scene was heartbreaking. Romeo, a small white-furred dog, was in the middle of a sea of garbage, struggling to find food. He seemed very thin and tired. His fur, which used to be shiny and soft, was now dirty and ragged. His eyes, full of sadness, reflected the harsh reality of his new life. Little Romeo moved slowly among piles of garbage, with dirty feet and a weak body. Each step seemed to require a huge effort, and he crouched down carefully to check if there was anything he could eat. The hope of finding some leftover food kept him moving, but hunger and fatigue were evident in his gaze. The scene was a mixture of despair and courage, as Romeo fought to survive amidst all that desolation. Romeo was determined to survive, despite the difficult conditions of the landfill. Every day was a new challenge for him. The garbage around him seemed infinite, but Romeo had to find a way to stay fed and protected. He moved carefully, looking for something edible among the piles of waste. The leftovers were scarce and often not very appetizing, but Romeo had no other option. He learned to recognize the foods that could still be eaten and avoided those that were rotten or dangerous. Each little find, like a piece of bread or a little canned food, was a great victory for him. In addition to looking for food, Romeo also had to protect himself from the other dogs that frequented the landfill. Some of them were hostile and fought for any food they found. Romeo used his intelligence and speed to avoid conflicts, always staying alert so as not to be attacked. Despite the difficulties, Romeo was always in motion, exploring different areas of the landfill in search of resources. He found shelter between boxes and rubble, creating small hideouts where he could rest and protect himself from the wind and rain. Every day was a battle, but Romeo adapted and became more cunning in his survival strategies. Even in the midst of so much loneliness and difficulty, Romeo never stopped waiting. Every day, he would stand near the road, his eyes fixed on the horizon, hoping to see his family return. Time passed, but Romeo's loyalty remained unbreakable. He believed that one day they would return to look for him. The wait was hard and full of challenges. The road was far from the landfill, but Romeo continued to watch it with unwavering determination. Every time he heard the noise of a car approaching, Romeo got up, his heart racing with expectation. But when the car passed without stopping, he returned to his refuge, a little more discouraged but never completely defeated. He continued to watch the road with the same determination as always, believing that his family would return to take him home. The days became weeks, and the weeks turned into months. Romeo grew thinner and more tired, but his hope never went out. His loyalty to the family that had left him was a flame that never went out. Even when the odds seemed minimal and the environment around him was hostile, Romeo kept the faith that one day things would change. People passing by began to notice the little dog who spent his time carefully watching the road. Every time a car approached, Romeo raised his head and looked into the vehicle, as if he were waiting for good news to stop and bring him home. Some of those people felt compassion for Romeo and decided to try to help him. They approached him with the intention of taking him to a safer place, where he could live in better conditions. However, Romeo, with his firm loyalty and hopeful gaze, showed unexpected resistance. Romeo seemed to understand that the car was not the answer he expected and continued to remain close to the road, his gaze fixed on the horizon, as if he were waiting for his family, who never returned. Despite the intentions of the people to help, Romeo seemed trapped in his hope, unwilling to leave the place where he believed that one day his family would find him again. Before continuing, just check if you have already left your like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you love animals and their exciting stories. With the passage of time, Romeo's presence in the landfill began to draw the attention of the inhabitants of the area. The little white dog, always waiting for the family that never returned, began to touch the hearts of the people around him. Among those people was Carmen, a kind lady who frequently passed by the landfill. Carmen noticed Romeo and was moved to see how he was fighting to survive. Determined to help, Carmen began to bring food and water to Romeo, food remains and even a basin with fresh water. With each visit, Carmen saw Romeo's gratitude and knew that she was making a difference in his life. Over time, other people also began to get involved. Some inhabitants brought blankets to protect Romeo from the cold, and others even offered toys and treats to cheer him up. The community united, each contributing in some way to make Romeo's life a little better. Little by little, Romeo's situation improved. This is something that may seem incredible to us, human beings. Sometimes, we might think that this is a sign of madness or something unusual. However, for Romeo, the situation was very different. He did not think in terms of logic or reason as we do. Romeo acted only based on his animal instinct. For him, the road and the landfill were his world, and his family was the only hope he had. His instincts guided him, and his loyalty was a powerful force that kept him firm in his wait. While we might question why someone would wait so long for something that never returned, Romeo simply followed his heart and instincts. He did not see the situation as a difficult choice but as a natural task. His desire to be with the family that had loved him was the force that moved him, and he did not see a reason to abandon that hope. Romeo followed his instinct, waiting in a pure and sincere way, without any doubt or distrust. For him, waiting was just a part of his day-to-day life, an expression of his unbreakable loyalty and love. With time, Romeo became a well-known figure in the region. His history and presence began to inspire many who passed by the landfill. He was not just a lost dog, he became a symbol of hope and resilience for all who knew him. Romeo's image, patiently waiting next to the road, represented the idea that, even in the most difficult situations, hope should never be abandoned. People passed by and saw the little dog with its eyes shining with hope, even after so many years. It was living proof that loyalty and patience could overcome even the greatest adversities. Romeo also became a point of reference for those who needed a dose of inspiration. His calm behavior and persistence in waiting for his family showed an inner strength that impressed. He not only survived but continued to wait with the same hope he had at the beginning. That turned him into a powerful symbol of resilience and courage. Over time, some people tried to help Romeo find a safer home. But a curious situation occurred when a woman named Anna appeared. Anna claimed to be Romeo's original owner and tried to take him away. She seemed very convincing and said she had missed Romeo during all those years. However, something seemed strange. Carmen, who had been taking care of Romeo for some time and knew the dog well, began to suspect. She knew that Romeo had a small special mark on his ear, a unique feature that only the true family of Romeo could know. When Anna could not correctly identify that mark, Carmen became even more worried. Carmen began to investigate and, with the help of some residents, discovered that Anna had questionable intentions. Anna was not really interested in reuniting Romeo with his original family but wanted to sell him. She had heard about the dog known in the region and thought she could make a profit from him. Carmen, who decided to protect Romeo, reported Anna to the authorities. The community joined together to support Carmen and ensure that Romeo was not taken by someone with false intentions. The true story of Romeo and the affection he had received from the community helped prevent him from being separated from those who truly cared about him. After Anna's frustrated attempt to take Romeo, the truth about his origin began to reveal itself. Carmen, who cared so much about Romeo, was determined to discover more about the past of the dog. Carmen decided to go to the police and ask for help to investigate the origin of Romeo. Through her persistent effort, a policeman decided to conduct a more detailed investigation. The policeman discovered that, in the same week that Romeo appeared in the landfill, there was a newspaper describing the love and intention of a man to buy a dog to give to his younger brother. The newspaper mentioned a white dog, exactly like Romeo. When the police got in touch with the family of the man, they managed to confirm that Romeo was, in fact, the dog that the man had bought with so much affection. The revelation brought a mixture of relief and emotion for Carmen. Romeo had not been in the landfill by chance. He had a story that connected him to someone who loved him, but unfortunately, he never had the opportunity to be with him. When Carmen got in touch with the family of the man who had suffered the accident, she made a moving discovery. She discovered that the family still had photos and videos of Romeo. The images showed a very beloved dog, living happy moments with the family. It was clear that Romeo was not just any dog but a cherished member of the family. In the photos, Romeo appeared playing in the garden, receiving caresses, and even wearing a small necklace with a hanging charm. The videos showed moments of affection, such as when he ran happily around the house, with the family laughing and having fun with him. It was evident that Romeo had been very loved and that the family had special plans for him. When Carmen saw those images, she finally understood the reason for Romeo's tireless loyalty. All the time he had spent waiting in the landfill now made sense. Romeo had clung to the place where, in some way, he felt that he was connected with the past and his old family. His wait and patience were a reflection of the love and deep bond he had with those who had cared for him and loved him before the accident. The discovery of the true origin of Romeo brought a wave of emotions for Carmen and the community. Carmen met one of the policemen who had helped in the investigation. The policeman revealed that, by investigating more thoroughly, he discovered that the man who suffered the accident in the same week when Romeo appeared in the landfill had intended to give Romeo as a gift to his younger brother. Unfortunately, the accident and the events that followed separated Romeo from his new family. Knowing that Romeo was part of a story of love and intention, and that the accident was what separated him from his loved ones, brought a sense of closure to Romeo's long wait. Carmen was deeply moved when she realized that Romeo had been more than an abandoned dog. He was a bond with a past that contained a lot of love. The revelation helped to understand why Romeo was still waiting, even when it seemed that hope was fading away. His instinct and loyalty were a testament to a bond that never broke, even in adversity. Carmen decided to respect Romeo's decision to stay where he felt that connection. She decided to build a small wooden house near the landfill for him. Carmen thought of suggesting to Romeo's family to adopt him, imagining that perhaps his presence could bring some memory or connection with the past. However, during the phone calls, Carmen noticed something worrying. The response of the family when they found out that Romeo was alive seemed superficial. Their joy seemed forced and did not show real interest or emotion. One of the sisters of the former owner of Romeo even asked, almost indifferently, if Romeo had a comfortable place to sleep. When Carmen explained that the dog was sleeping in a landfill, the lack of concern in her response was evident. It seemed that, after all those years, Romeo's memory was not as important to them as it should have been. Carmen began to reflect on the situation. She realized that, perhaps, the family did not remember Romeo with the same affection that he showed for them. Perhaps they did not want a memory of someone in the family who had died, or perhaps they were not as loyal as Romeo had been all those years. Romeo's ingenuity and loyalty, his unconditional love and connection with his former owner, were treasures that deserved to be treated with the same dedication and affection that he had shown. Carmen understood that the true reward for Romeo's love and loyalty could not come from a family that seemed to have lost their emotional bond with him. Instead, Romeo deserved to receive love, affection, and a better life in a way that would reflect the same dedication that he had shown. With this understanding, Carmen decided to continue taking care of Romeo with the same loyalty and love that he had always shown. She knew that the value of Romeo resided in his ability to love and wait, and that value had to be rewarded in a fair and true way. With the truth about the past of Romeo finally revealed, the community and Carmen joined together to ensure that he was protected and well cared for. Carmen, who had become the primary caretaker of Romeo, was determined to make sure that the beloved dog was no longer threatened by false or disinterested intentions. The revelation of Anna's attempt to take Romeo and the superficial responses from the family showed the urgent need to protect Romeo from any other possible exploitation or abandonment. Carmen and the locals organized a dedicated support group to ensure that Romeo had a safe and happy life. The community mobilized to build a comfortable refuge for Romeo, using appropriate materials and creating a cozy and safe space. The new shelter was designed to be a warm place, with a soft bed, toys, and a protected area where he could play and rest. Each detail was planned so that Romeo would feel truly loved and protected. Carmen also ensured that Romeo would receive regular veterinary care, nutritious food, and a lot of affection. She knew that Romeo had suffered a lot and that what he needed most now was a stable and loving environment. The community supported this effort with donations and voluntary help, showing that everyone was committed to taking care of the dog, which had become a symbol of hope for everyone. In addition, Carmen and the inhabitants organized campaigns to increase awareness of the importance of taking care of abandoned animals and maintaining a bond with those who may be in danger. Romeo's example helped inspire others to get involved in similar causes and to offer support to animals in need. With the shelter built and the support of the consolidated community, Romeo began a new stage in his life. He quickly adapted to his new home, which was cozy and comfortable, very different from the landfill where he had spent so many years. The shelter, surrounded by a small garden, offered Romeo a space to explore and play. Carmen and the inhabitants dedicated time to interact with him, making sure that he never lacked affection and attention. Over time, Romeo began to show signs of happiness and relief. His eyes, once sad and tired, began to shine again with the joy of a beloved dog. The community not only provided a safe home for Romeo but also got involved in activities that promoted his well-being. They organized regular walks and events to socialize with other dogs and people, helping Romeo regain his confidence and reintegrate into social life. Carmen continued to take care of Romeo with the same love and dedication as always. She observed how the dog transformed, leaving behind the trauma and painful memories of the past. Romeo began to show a more cheerful and playful behavior, as if he were rediscovering the joy of living. And Carmen? She never gave up on Romeo, even when that meant making long trips from her house to the landfill, sometimes during the night. Carmen's dedication was unbreakable. On a particularly stormy night, while the rain was falling torrentially, Carmen decided to bring an extra blanket for Romeo to keep him warm and comfortable. When returning home, the storm seemed to intensify, with the wind howling and the rain hitting hard. Carmen was tired, but her heart was full of concern for Romeo. However, that night, something incredible happened. When Carmen was almost home, she perceived a familiar presence behind her. It was Romeo, who, for the first time, had decided to follow her. Carmen stopped and turned around, her heart beating hard. The scene was heartbreaking. Romeo was wet and trembling, but his eyes shone with new hope. Carmen could not hold back tears when she saw the little dog slowly enter her house. It was a moment of pure emotion, a sign that Romeo had finally found his way to a new home. Carefully and tenderly, Carmen prepared a special place for Romeo inside her house. She arranged a warm and soft bed for him, with the blanket she had brought, creating a cozy space for him. Carmen could not help but cry. Tears were falling freely, mixing with the rain that was still falling outside. Romeo seemed relaxed and at peace for the first time in a long time. It was as if he had understood that the wait had ended and that he had now found a place where he was loved and protected. Carmen felt a deep relief and joy when she realized that Romeo was ready to start a new phase of his life by her side. The little dog that had suffered and waited so long finally found a home where he would be valued and loved as he deserved. Romeo's new life with Carmen was a testament to the strength of love and perseverance. Thank you very much for watching the video until the end. Remember to leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment with your opinion about this story.